Guys, I want to ask you guys some questions. We're going to look at 4 or 5 passages today. But I want to ask the question, and I really would love to have some dialogue. Now, my dad is still in Roatan, so he's usually fairly quick to kind of chime in and such, but he's not. He may be watching online. I don't know. Maybe he'll call. Right? There's always that chance, right? But I do want to ask you guys this question. What does love look like in the Bible? What does love look like in the Bible? In fact, in the Bible, I think is important because we can give all kinds of like definitions of love and everything else. But does somebody want to just chime in with a couple of answers? What do you got? What does love look like in the Bible? What comes to mind? Anybody? Okay, it looks like Jesus. Do you want to be specific? That was a very broad statement. Okay. You think of love. That's good. I mean, I'm not down in your answer one bit. I mean, how can you? You're exactly right. Who else wants to chime in a little bit? Love is unconditional. In the Bible, can you think of examples of unconditional love in the Bible? Jesus died on the cross. He did so unconditionally, even though while we were still sinners, He loved us and died on the cross for us. Lovely. Anyone else? Brian, what do you got? I see your wheel spinning. Putting other people, especially their needs, in front of us. I like that. Mr. Carl?
I think of Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve?
And I think, God, He loved them. And He created, He loved them. That's what He gave it is.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah.
He still loved them.
So Adam and Eve in the garden, God created Adam and Eve, even knowing, because He created us with free will. Guys, love is not love without freedom. Cannot have love without freedom. We're not robots. He can't force us to do that. That's not love. That's called dictatorship, or you can put a whole bunch of other names by it as well. What does love look like in the Bible? Anybody else? Come on, Kim. Let me hear from you, girl. You're usually pretty quick with some of those answers. What you got over there? Did you say God's judgment? That, oh my lands. Can we just stand up and give her a round of applause? Because oh my lands. Who would have ever said that? God's judgment is love. But Jeremiah, that's a hard book. That's a hard book. I applaud your answer. We're gonna dig into some pretty deep stuff, Kim. Good stuff. Anybody else want to chime in? Servanthood. Anything else? Any picture images that come to mind from the cross, or from the Bible? We said the cross. Any other picture images come to mind? All right. So I can't remember. Let's move to the next slide. Did I put 1 Corinthians up there? Do you have a slide, 1 Corinthians 13? Look at that, I did. And I know it's kind of small, especially for you back there in the back. People are online are grumbling because it's even smaller for them to see probably. I'll just read it to you. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all the mysteries of knowledge, and if I have faith that can tell a mountain to get up and move to the other side of the valley, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all of my possessions to the poor, and I give my body to hardship, so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nada, nothing, zilch. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast. It does not boast. Woof. It is not proud. It does not dishonor other people. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight when other people suffer because of the results of evil, but it rejoices with the truth. It always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, and it always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophets, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became an adult, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. I love the fact that he included that. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. That's such a powerful passage. Well, you could just look at that every day for a year, I really believe, and I suspect have the Spirit reveal and show you things from that you've not seen before. One of the examples of love, I was expecting somebody immediately to say 1 Corinthians chapter 13 when I said, what does love look like in the Bible? Oh, that's 1 Corinthians chapter 13. I was also expecting to somebody say Luke chapter 10 verses 25 through 27. Anyone know what that is the account of? That would be the account of the Good Samaritan. And I put the scripture up there, but I didn't put all the text up there. It's a long story. At least I don't think I did. What is that next slide we got, my friend, in the back? Yep, there it is. Very, very small. The Good Samaritan, Luke chapter 10, verse 25 through 27. And you know the account. You have two groups of people who are at odds with each other. Two groups of people that are, kind of a lot of resistance. You could probably say or liken it to like black and white people, maybe especially like in the 70s or something. Probably that might be a way. You could say the Jews and especially, what's the other religion? I can't even say it, but Islam. Different things like that. But you have two people that were on different ends of the spectrum, and one goes and helps out the fellow who was left beaten on the side of the road. And Jesus says, that's a great example of love. That's a great example of who your neighbor is. You should go and do likewise. It's a great, great story. And then we have this verse from Proverbs, and I mentioned it, I think on Sunday, maybe even on that really is small, isn't it? My apologies. I wasn't trying to be a jerk or anything to you guys. I'll read it to you. It's Proverbs chapter 28, verse 27, and it says, those who give to the poor will lack nothing. That's a promise. That's God's word. That's a stock worth buying into. Those who give to the poor lack nothing, but those who turn a blind eye will receive many curses. Yeah, that's just an interesting passage. So let me ask you guys some questions. Question number one. When you think of love and what love is and what love isn't, do you think that love can be challenging? Do you think that love can be difficult? Do you want to describe that a little bit? And you're going to need to speak really, really loudly, and I'll try to repeat for those that are watching online. But how is it that love can be challenging? How can love be difficult? I'm curious to hear some of your thoughts on this.
I think if you have somebody that you truly love and they do something to hurt you immensely, sometimes it's hard to continue to love.
So Carl says, when you have somebody that you love, maybe even somebody that you're trying to love, I'm going to add it to that if you don't mind. I think that's both the one and the same. You have somebody that you love, somebody that you're trying to love, and they hurt you. They do something to hurt you. sometimes it is hard to continue to maintain, loving to them. And I see a lot of heads nodding. Very good. Brian, what do you got? So Brian's talking about discipline and disciplining your children. That's an interesting. Your mind went an interesting direction when I said this. So are you saying that disciplining is loving, not loving? What are you saying? Brian says discipline is love because you are trying to correct something that is harmful to them. That's, I think, very well said, Brian. It was a nice sentence structure on that. Tough love. Okay, good. What else, guys? Love can be challenging. Love can be difficult. What else do you have? What if somebody just hates you? Does not like you for whatever the reason? I can think of a handful of people who have not liked me for different reasons. I joke around about NASCAR people. Brian was a NASCAR guy. Richard Petty. Oh, Richard Petty could do no harm. I sit there and I sent them an emoji with the smiley face, but the guy's had a zipper going across his mouth like saying, he did say Mario Andretti also, so that was true. But, sometimes people don't like you. Maybe you're not from the right side of the fence. Maybe you root for the wrong team. Maybe you're not the right color. Maybe you're not, I don't know. But what do you do? Is it easy to love somebody who just flat out, if they had their way, would see harm come to you? Is it easy to love somebody like that? Not, is it? Well, you guys are doing really, really good. You're going right down my line here of things. Guys, the thing that I want to kind of talk about next is just the simple fact that in our world today, there are people that are hurting, people that are struggling, people that are searching, people who just cannot figure it out, and they are looking for answers. And kind of to quote the movie that we saw last night, we went and saw the Jesus Revolution movie. They're looking for all the right answers, but in all the wrong places. I think that was a quote from that movie, and an excellent movie, I should add. But the reality is, it's very, very true. There are people today that are just really hurting, really broken, really struggling, and they are trying to find comfort. They're trying to find peace. They're trying to make sense of things. And people will look in all kinds of different directions. Now, this movie last night, I there was no way going and seeing that movie last night that I wasn't going to be able to. I knew I was going to have to talk about this just a little bit, and I'm not going to give you spoiler alerts or anything like that. It's about Jesus and loving people, okay? So if you didn't know that, spoiler alert, right? But the fact is, back in the early 1970s, 1972 was really kind of that pinnacle year, it seemed like. There was a big movement that was taking place across a good portion of our country, and especially out west, some out east, but mostly out west. And if you were to give it a name, what would you call that movement that was taking place back in the early 1970s? It was the what movement? The hippie movement. The hippie movement. You have World War II, you've got Vietnam, you've got all kinds of stuff that's happening. You have people that are saying, I'm not listening to any of the stuff that you've told me in the past, because obviously it's wrong. Look at where we are. and look what's becoming of this. And so we're tuning it out. We're quitting, and we're going a different direction. And I think there really, really were a lot of people. And a lot of these people said, you know what, we know some things that are true and some things that are right. Love. Is love good or is love bad? Are you sure? You guys seem pretty kind of quiet. Am I putting you all to sleep? Is the egg casserole kicking in? So let me ask you again. In all seriousness, love. Is love good or is love bad? It probably could be both, but I think, the truest sense of love, I think we would say, yeah, love is good. We should all aspire to love. You want to argue against me on that right now? That's fine. You're more than welcome to.
The first thing that comes to my mind is love of money.
Oh, okay, the love of money, that sort of thing. Okay.
Envious of somebody else loving.
Yeah, you're good. That's a great caveat to what love is. Yeah. So yeah, we'll take a second and mention that. Absolutely. So let me rephrase and make more clear. Loving other people, love. Not possessions but people. Good, bad, or indifference. It's good. I don't know how you could argue against that. Now let me ask you another thing. Peace. Good, bad, or indifferent? Peace. Having peace. Peace between you and your neighbor. Good, bad, or indifferent? I don't know how you could argue against this. Now, maybe you have an ideology in your mind of peace. You see the guy going like this with a joint in his mouth or, something like that. And I don't know if any of you guys are from that hippie age. I'm not even really sure what the hippie age would be. It would probably be more like our folks maybe are fairly close, somewhere around there. But peace is a good thing. And so you have, this hippie movement. And, what did they say? They had like a slogan. One of their slogans was, hey, and then they would say it. And do you remember what it was? Wasn't it peace, love? I don't think it was rock and roll. It might have been marijuana. I don't know. But you know what? This was something that they, so I think they had it at least, hey, you know what? Yeah, peace and love. And yet they were looked upon, go ahead. Yeah, make love, not war. Okay. And well, are they talking about sex? Or are they talking about, I don't know. But yeah, that was certainly a big phrase. Make love, not war. And they were certainly opposed to the war and that sort of thing. Guys, there are people in the world that are hurting. The movie that we saw last night was about a group of people called the hippies who were hurting, and they were searching. And that's pretty much it. And a lot of them found the answer that they were hoping to find. That's the movie in a nutshell. The thing of it is there are a lot of people out there that are hurting, and there's nobody around really to show them, what the answer is. Guys, what are some different ways today? Let me ask you this. What are some different ways today that people are trying to fill the void that they have in their life, where they are hurting and they don't really know why, and so they turn a whole bunch of different directions to try to fill the void? And Brian, before I call on you, I'll say this, because I heard this and I didn't understand it for a while, and then I really got to the place where I understand it. I call them, and you've heard this. Anyone know what I'm getting ready to say? They're empty wells. They're empty wells. We go to these places thinking that we're going to find nourishment, and we let down the bucket, and maybe, there's like imaginary water or something like that, and maybe we drink it thinking that we're going to get quenched or whatever else, our thirst, but in reality, they're empty. And I do think there's all kinds of things. Brian, you said one already. What's one of the ways? Sports. And I think it's a couple of different ways. I can plug into sports, I'm going to be an athlete. I'm going to plug in. I also think I'm going to watch sports. You know what? I may be treated bad by everybody around me, but I still got the Colts, and they bleed blue, I guess, right? There you go. So I like that. What else are there? What other things? Alcohol. They turn to drugs and alcohol, and then they turn to any other addictions. Guys, I want to tell you, pornography is a stimulus. Guys, mostly, when they're hurting, they turn to pornography. There's endorphins or whatever in your brain and stuff, and it's like cocaine and just whatever, and it does sorts of things, and suddenly they're not feeling at the bottom of that barrel that they were once before, and so forth. So yeah, lots of different kinds of addictions: smoking, cigarettes, tobacco, alcohol, drugs, pornography, alcohol. I guess we said that all a million times. Other things. Careers, job, you guys were going to say. Yeah, materialism. You know what? Life is hard, so I'm going to figure this thing out, and I'm not going to be poor. I am tired of living, meekly or whatever, and so I'm going to have a career that I can buy whatever happiness that I need, and so forth. The career also is, obviously, people will look at me differently if I am a CEO, or if I am the captain, or if I am the manager, or whatever else. All the people, there'll be lots of people below me that will have to look up at me, and that will make me feel like I have some significance.
It's a way for you to check out also. Just like with alcohol, drugs, you throw yourself into your work, you can check out. I mean, you're checking out the reality.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, there's certainly dangers there. Carl's saying, you can check out. You can be so engrossed. I want to go to some examples, and I let me see, maybe I can. Guys, is life easy today for anybody? I don't really think hardly anybody has life going on easy. I can name some different names to you. I can say Michael Jackson, and you can think of the struggles. Now, some of you are so young, but Brian and I, that was right in our prime time area. He's on drugs. He's trying to figure things out. I want to be a celebrity. I think of Ryan White, and befriending little Ryan White, and Never Everland, or whatever his place was called. I get that confused with Elvis's Graceland, but whatever. And just all kinds of, stuff. I think of, I saw, who did I see? Maybe it was a commercial last night of, he was on Grease, John Travolta. And if you don't know the heartaches and the pain and suffering that the Travolta family has gone through, wow. I don't know that life is really easy for very many people. I won't be a jerk, but I think I just to bring this a little bit closer to home in a different sort of a thing. You think of A.J. Foyt and the fact that, when they think of famous race car drivers in America, maybe somebody will say Dale Jr., but they're probably from the South and aren't very bright. Or whatever else, or Petty, or whatever those other guys' names were. I'm not even going to qualify that name by saying it, but you probably would say Mario Andretti or A.J. Foyt. Especially if you're my age, you're probably going to say A.J. Foyt. But I'm going to tell you, man, I have seen A.J. Foyt, and I have watched A.J. Foyt for over 35, 40 years. I have watched A.J. Foyt. I was at that track when I was 8 or 9 years old. I knew who A.J. Foyt was. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone who looks so miserable and has been miserable. Not because he's old and his back's sore. I mean, he always looked like he had a what do you call those things that roll through the streets in Texas? Tumbleweed. It's like he has a tumbleweed somewhere where it shouldn't be. There you go. Love is challenging. My son Matthew, he's a man now. Did I tell you guys that my son is doing an internship over the summer? Be making somewhere between, I think, $23, maybe $25 an hour, designing, engineering components in Lima, Ohio. Do you know what they do in Lima, Ohio? Anybody? No, they don't make roller coaster parts for Cedar Point. But what they do is there's a big plant up there, and they take the old tanks from World War II and Vietnam and so forth, and they bring them up there and they re-engineer them with all kinds of new technology. That's what Matthew's going to be doing. He wanted to work for Lockheed or SpaceX, and as a sophomore, that's virtually almost impossible. But he got a nice internship doing this. And you think his daddy's proud of him? Daddy's proud of him. But I do often sit there and think, and I wish somehow I could talk deeply into that young boy, because he is working so hard to make A's and maintain being on the dean's list, which he's on, working for a organization on campus called, but it's funded mostly by Elon Musk and the rocket people and NASA and everything else. But he's literally building rockets. And you remember it was almost a year ago that they launched a rocket. And Matthew was only a freshman but was in charge, and they were hoping to get it to the Kármán line before it would feel the effects of gravity and fall back to Earth, hoping that next summer they would have a similar rocket do 4 orbits before coming back into the atmosphere, and they're still working on that. Matthew is one of the supervisors in a particular area of that. Orbital, I said it. Orbital. So he's with Orbital. And he's one of the leaders as a sophomore, getting ready to be a junior in Orbital. He also works, what's the name of the big place where they do all of the engineering labs and work? It's called Bechtel. He is a supervisor and a manager now, and he works at Bechtel. And he works about 20 hours a week at Bechtel while trying to maintain the dean's list, while trying to do Orbital, while also preparing it to go and do an internship. And he also runs the soundboard for Northview's campus up in West Lafayette, which takes up his Thursdays and Sundays. And he does not sleep, and he's a mess. And he thinks that he has to do all of these things so that he can get on to Lockheed or SpaceX next year. And as his daddy, do you think his daddy's proud? His daddy's proud, but his daddy's also scared to death out of his mind, and would love to be able to try to speak some words of wisdom and truth to him. But often, I'm afraid what happens when his dad tries to, what ends up happening is his mom has more success at it than I do. Well, go figure, right? If it was Bethany, I would have more success. But daddy, daughter, and son, mom. That's just the way God did it. I kind of get shut down a little bit. It's not easy. I want to be able to tell Matthew, take a deep breath and gain some confidence and go out and talk to the nice girl that's in your class and stuff. And he does not like those kinds of things. That's a little bit of an example, I think, of what love is. I think that there are other examples. Now, you've heard me tell an example a million times, and I'm not going to repeat it, but it also has to do with Matthew, and you all remember it. I think you guys have probably been here long enough as well that you probably have heard the story. Matthew, there's the cul-de-sac across the street. Matthew, before you can go to the cul-de-sac, what do you have to do, Matthew? You got to look this way, got to look that way. And then you got to look that way again before you cross the street. And if you don't do that, I'm going to consider it a sin against me. And I remember saying those exact words. That will be a sin against me. Why is it a sin against me? Brian, do you want to explain? He missed the mark, a definition of sin, but no more than that. It's disobedience, but it's more than that. It's going to be harmful to him, and it's going to be harmful to me. It'll be harmful to him, and it'll be harmful to me. Carl, Melody, you have two lovely young ladies. Are they both here tonight? Did I miss one of them? Okay, good. I've not seen them do wrong. Do they ever do wrong? Well, I suspect that they probably do wrong, but I don't see it. I have not seen it. I see an incredible amount of respect, and I see an insane amount of love for their daddy, which is just wonderful to see. But I suspect that there are times when they do wrong. Can I share a quick story? Brian, you might have been there for this one. I don't know if, I think you know the story. Maybe not. We're in Boy Scouts. It's day camp time. At day camp, do you spend the night and sleep in tents? The answer is no, you don't. You go in the morning, and then at 4 o'clock you leave and you go home. And you sleep at home, and then you come back the next morning and you shoot BB guns and bows and arrows and chase, I don't know, squirrels and whatever. Our group was going, and it was about 45-minute drive. And the reality is, the parents, somebody said, hey, maybe what we could do is all of the kids can bring $1. Do you remember this? Oh, it's one of my worst moments. So there were 7 or 8 boys, and whoever had a big car would take the 7 or 8 boys, and each of the boys would give $1 to the driver. After day 1, I think it was Roger Smith. Roger Smith's dad drove us, and everybody went to hand Roger Smith's dad $1. And guess what Roger Smith's dad said? No need, don't worry about it. Don't worry about bringing $1. Everybody just save your dollars. We're taking turns, and so it all equals out in the end. What do you think I did with my $1? If there would have been a pinball machine on that campgrounds, I would have put it in the pinball machine. You are absolutely right. There was a canteen that was there, and I sweetened my tooth, and I spent that $1 at the canteen. But that's not what's bad. I mean, that's kind of bad. I didn't take the $1 back home. You know what was bad, though, right? The next morning was bad when Dad handed me another $1. And do you think I accepted it? I did. That happened on day 2, day 3, and on day 4. Not thinking about what would happen on day 5, when it was my dad's turn to drive. And there were no dollars. And I talk to my dad about this often. At this point, he doesn't even remember the event, which kind of makes me scared. But it was also probably one of the first times I saw my dad's eyes well up in tears and disappointment. There's love there. That's what love is. That's a great illustration of love. That's a great picture, I should say, of love. Love does hurt. The problem is this. For example, in the movie last night, in order to try to fill the void or the emptiness, the empty well that a lot of the hippies would go to were drugs. And were the drugs helping? I don't know the name of the girl. Kim went with us, and she knew the name of every single actor, actress. She even knew the drivers that took the directors, I think, to and from the studio. It was amazing. I don't know how she knows, and she could just rattle off every single name. I can't tell you my grandparents' names half the time without stopping and thinking about it, right? But there was a girl who was rich. She was lovely. She came from a set of parents. And did you notice that they had the picture of the Last Supper on the wall at the house in the living room? Did you notice that? Yeah. When he came to talk to her after he kind of screwed up, in the far distance was a picture. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, this is kind of a religious family, probably, at least to some extent. Maybe Catholic, I don't know. But this girl was hurting, even though she was rich. And were the mom and the dad, did they come across as loving? Because I thought that they were. I mean, they were concerned. They tried to engage. They tried to talk. But kids are kids. And I'm so sorry, because even though your girls are as lovely as can be right now, there will probably be a time when they'll just be like, whatever, and do one of those to you. And I pray for you right now for that, because that hurts like all the dickens. But she goes and she tries to fill it with drugs, along with her older sister. And God has grace on the older sister when she goes into a seizure and almost dies. And she sees it and recognizes it. And she continues to kind of look and search to see what it is, what the true answer is. My point in all of this, and Brian, you hit it really on the head, and I knew it wouldn't take too long to get there. But I think love is so hard and difficult and challenging, because we do not want to disappoint people, and we do not want to hurt people. We do not want to hurt our kids, even when they're beautiful, cute little boys, just having fun, just doing what little boys do, And in my eyes, they can't do any wrong. There isn't anything that they can break that can't be replaced or whatever else. But the thing is I remember, and you've heard me maybe tell this story a little bit before, and there's two parts to it. There's the Bethany part, and then there's the Pebbles part. Interesting, right? And they both begin with B's. But Bethany was the first grandchild, and she was a girl with curly, beautiful hair. And do you not think that both sets of grandparents absolutely wanted to just spoil the living rottenness out of them? Now, do you think that a grandparent can do wrong, by showing love to a child? Can a grandparent show too much love to a grandchild? It's an interesting question, and I think that's also very well said. We're talking about things that are not simple and are not easy. But I remember feeling really nervous and really anxious at times. Amy, you need to have a talk with your mom. Now, many of you have met Lorraine, and I don't know if there's a more just lovely, pure, kind-hearted person in all the world, right? I mean, seriously, if you've met her, you know this. And yet I was concerned. Why are you concerned? Because it's going to be like the missionary going with their suitcase packed full of goodies to hand out. And, missionary after missionary after missionary shows up. And finally, the leader of Nicaragua, or Nigeria, is Nigeria. The leader of Nigeria, and I'm quoting a book. I mean, I can show you all the facts. And somebody goes and they ask him, says, so how does all of the missions and the kindness and love that your country has received, from these church groups and stuff? And he says to them, and do you remember what the quote is? They are as effective. They are incredibly effective in that they are turning my people into beggars. Amy, don't let the dog jump on the couch. Amy, don't let the dog jump on the couch. We have new furniture now. Because our last furniture, which I still miss greatly, because I have never in my life had a more comfortable recliner than that old recliner that you all remember in my house. But it's gone. Matthew has it now. And I have new furniture that's not nearly as comfortable. But it's comfortable. But it's not nearly as comfortable. And finally, we have gotten to the place where we do not let the dog up on the furniture. She has her own little bed couch. And you've seen it. And it's lovely. And she knows. And I think once in the last 4 weeks did she forget and got up on the new furniture, and I scolded her, and she instantly oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot. And she went immediately over to her place, and all was good and fine. Now, let me ask you, our dog Pebbles not getting on the nice furniture, is that to my benefit or to Pebbles' benefit? To mine? Did you say both? To mine. Well, actually, it is to both, because I would have whipped that dog something good. Get off my couch. But it is to mine. But here's the thing. What if it was alcoholism or drugs or pornography, or I really, really, really want to get rich and everything is focused on getting rich and how I can get from here to there? What if you have somebody who's doing hard and difficult, challenging things that's affecting them in their relationships? What if they're doing things that's making their work environment dreadful to the point where, crying out loud, the manager can only be so patient, you're going to fire the person. What if it was $1 million? What if they go and their budget is such that they should not be going to Starbucks getting the $4.79 latte every morning? Or whatever it is that it might be. Oh, please, I'm not talking about any of you guys. Oh, some of you guys are going like this and everything else. I don't know what you guys, I haven't followed you in the morning to Starbucks. And I don't drink coffee because, and I'll tell you what, I knew back then that there was coffee and then there was expensive coffee, and I didn't want to be tempted. And that was honestly the reason why I never started. Honestly, I was low dollar junior. I don't need that. I'll just drink my Pepsi, thank you, and be more than happy, fine. But guys, when somebody is going down a bad path, when I'm at Greenville College and there's a group of us going to the St. Louis Museum, 25 miles west of Greenville, Illinois, the zoo, and we're going and we're driving, and suddenly I see one of my friends, taking a right turn where they shouldn't have, and Brian ending up where? In East St. Louis. Now, if you remember the movie National Lampoon's Vacation, they were in East St. Louis. I'm sorry, it makes Gary, Indiana look like, I don't know, Opeyville, whatever, Mayberry, okay? Seriously, would it not be worth flashing your light, getting on your phone call, and saying you don't want to turn there? You're heading in a bad place. Now, that may be all good and fine, and nobody's feelings are going to get hurt by turning right towards East St. Louis. But the problem is when we see somebody doing stuff that is going to eventually bring them to a not good place? Is it more loving to sit quiet and let them continue down that path? Or bringing some pain into their life saying, come on, dude, you need to get your head up out of your rear end and wake up? What is the more loving thing to do? How do you do it? Guys, I am telling you what we are talking about, helping people come. Guys, if you have missed the last 2 Sunday morning sermons, go watch them. I am not so sure if they've not been some of the most spirit-filled, this is of Jesus, in the direction that he is wanting us to go as a church than anything that I can think of. If you've missed them, go and watch them. But guys, I am telling you, helping somebody transition to a better place is one of the most hard, difficult, and you better think it through. And the problem is what happens is that sounds really, really hard, and I don't know, I might mess it up if I try, and so I'm just not going to. And that's why, honestly, America is in the place where it is, because you have parents who didn't want to parent, was afraid to talk to their kids, and we have friends that have gone astray because we were too scared, even though we were their really, really good friend, to sit there and say, hey, listen, if I said, well, I could say some names, but let's just not go there. But you know as well as I do. 2 of them come to my mind. One begins with an M and one begins with a J. And both of those break my heart today, especially the J one. And I should have had enough nerve to sit there and say, what are you thinking? Wake up, you foolish, foolish, foolish friend of mine that I love and would do anything for. And we don't do it. And I don't know how you can say that you love the person if you're not gonna do it. You're gonna let them go down that path instead of trying to bring them and turn them. I went long. I apologize. Hey, buddy. Hey, clear. Where's your older brother at? I only see 2. There's a third one. Oh, is he down there? Is he asleep? He's crawling. Oh, okay. All right. Hey, guys, thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. I know I wasn't all hyped up on super whatever and bouncing across the walls and stuff like that. You guys had to work tonight for your food. Paying attention. I appreciate you paying attention. I could tell that you were. Good job. But guys, please, will you think about this? Will you seriously think about this? Because quite frankly, that verse, those who give to the poor will lack nothing, but those who turn a blind eye will receive many curses, I think speaks exactly to this issue as much as any other. Stop turning a blind eye and show love to the people that you love. They've gone through enough misery, and they don't need to go through the next 20 more years just getting all the more miserable. That Johari window, they may not even see it. They may not even be aware of it. That might be their blind spot that everybody else sees, but they don't see, and they just need somebody loving enough to come to them and say, we should talk. And how you do that, you pray up and be filled with the Holy Spirit, because you'll need it. Because believe me, the devil will try to get in there and just muck it all up and just make it a disaster. So I would say pray, fast, get your other people praying. Hey, come here. Hey, all right, come here. Come here. Oh, come here. Oh, come here. Oh, you're heavy. Oh, my Lance, you're going to throw my back out. Hey, say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye.
Tell the good people that are watching on TV good night.
Good night.
All right. Can I pray for you? Hey, you want to pray with me? Yeah, you do. You may not know it yet, but you do. Father, bless everybody and bless us all. Give us all a good night's sleep. Help us to think long and hard about these things that you have brought to our attention. I believe in Jesus' name I ask. Amen. I got whiskers. All right, buddy. All right, good night, everybody. Thanks, everybody watching online. God bless.